Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank all the honourable members of Parliament for their contributions during the debate on the 2025-2026 national budget. Mr. Speaker, I was deeply honoured to attend the installation of Ratu Tuvita Hulia Kemba Mara Estuineau, Tuilau and Sauni Vanua Kolau. The National Federation Party has a proud and historic connection with the Chipli House of Lao. It was the wisdom and leadership of the late Tuineau Ratu Sekamese Semara that the NFP and its late leaders, Rikwea, agreed to the terms of Fiji's independence. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, I was able to reaffirm my appreciation to the people of Lao, as I was the inaugural recipient of the Ratu Sekamese Semara Visiting Fellowship at the University of Otago in 2007. The fellowship is a prestigious award established to honor the memory of Ratu Sekamese Semara, a prominent figure in Fijian history. It allows academics, particularly from the Pacific region, to visit and collaborate with the university. The fellowship provides opportunities for research, teaching, and cultural exchange. And Mr. Speaker, as part of that fellowship, I was able to spend 6 months as a visiting professor at the University of Otago. My attendance at the installation respectfully reaffirmed those historic ties with the people of Lao. I extended my warmest wishes to Ratu Tuvita for a reign that brings unity, prosperity, and peace to Lao, and through that, to our beloved nation. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Prime Minister and many honourable members of this House, together with many organizations, including the Great Council of Chiefs, have rightfully condemned in the strongest terms the desecration and sacrilege at the historic Shiv Mandir at Samabula last Friday in broad daylight. I visited the temple a few hours after the incident, and I know the Honourable Assistant Minister in the Prime Minister's office, the Honourable Minister for Youth Affairs, also visited the temple. Mr. Speaker, the Commissioner of Police and his officers deserve our appreciation for the swift action in arresting the alleged culprit of this heinous crime. Let me also say, Mr. Speaker, that this is not a time for blame game and recrimination. It is a time for unity and reconciliation. We must allow the law to take its just course. At the same time, no one should use the incident to incite ill will and hostility and amongst our communities just for political expediency. What is important is restoration of a place of worship that has historical significance, and to ensure that such crimes do not happen in any place of worship, be it a church, temple, mosque, or a shrine. Mr. Speaker, let me now turn to the budget. And let me begin by responding to the description to the budget by the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. But before that, Mr. Speaker, let me make some personal reflections, because the budget is not just an economic process. Budget, Mr. Speaker, is also a central political process. That means how we practice politics can be as important as how we pursue social and economic policies. Mr. Speaker, I first joined politics as a young man in 1999, and I did that under two great leaders, the late Justice Jairam Reddy, and our Honorable Prime Minister, Chittaveni Rambuka, who worked from the opposite sides before 99 election in the interest of the country, in the national interest, to give this country the 1997 Constitution. And after the defeat of both the National Federation Party and SBT, both leaders gracefully accepted the results and the defeat. The Honorable Prime Minister made a remarkable comeback into politics through the same policy of cooperation and working together. Mr. Speaker, I didn't come in politics to look after myself, and I will be responding to that a little bit more in relation to one of the honorable members later. One thing that I learned, Mr. Speaker, sitting in the opposition for 8 years, is that envy and hate in politics is a complete waste of time. And I think the policies that and the approach to politics that we have taken under the leadership of the Prime Minister has changed the landscape, the political landscape of this country. It has brought freedom. It has allowed even the opposition to feel comfortable in this parliament, outside of this parliament, and say whatever they want to say. But that is perhaps something that they still haven't appreciated. And it will probably take, Mr. Speaker, 1 or 2 more terms in opposition before they start appreciating it. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition described this budget as a panic budget. But let me say this, Mr. Speaker. I know it is not a panic budget by this government. It is not a panic budget for the people. It is not a panic budget for economists, banks, investors, people in the islands, people who are receiving social welfare, workers, unions, teachers, civil servants. Every corner, every sector of our country has said, Mr. Speaker, that this is a very good budget. And that is the panic. That is the reason. The panic is not from us or from the people. The panic is from the opposition. And let me explain, Mr. Speaker. Let me explain, Mr. Speaker, why an opposition at any time gets into a panic mode. There are some good reasons why an opposition gets into a panic mode after a good budget. One, they are worried about the government's successes over the last 2.5 years. They are worried about the appreciation that the people are giving. So, one good reason why the opposition panics and they go berserk is because when the government is successful, government policies are successful. So that's number one reason why they are panicking. Number two reason, Mr. Speaker, why an opposition gets into a panic mode is when there is a leadership crisis. Honorable Basarongo he articulated that very well. The Honorable Leader of the Opposition doesn't even know if tomorrow one of them stands up and says, now I'm independent, I'm not with you. So there is a leadership crisis. The other reason why the opposition is in panic, because Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I listened to them very, very carefully, quietly, and I hope they will listen to me. The other reason why they describe this budget as a panic budget, because for the first time in Fiji's history, Mr. Speaker, for the first time in Fiji's parliamentary history, that the opposition has crumbled. Normally, governments have problems. You have a budget defeat, you have some. This is the first time in Fiji's parliamentary history that the opposition has crumbled. The leaders have abandoned them. And I want to thank all those people, all my colleagues in government who were on the other side, who had the wisdom, who had the vision, who had the best interest of the country, who decided to join government. And we welcome them. And we welcome them. And we welcome them, Mr. Speaker said. And that's another reason why they are panicking. What I call the remnants of the failed Fiji First Party are panicking now. They are panicking now. Because this budget, Mr. Speaker said, as we said, lays down the foundation for a free, stable, prosperous Fiji. And I will explain that later. The other reason why they panic, Mr. Speaker said, is because they themselves are fighting amongst each other. I know. So the description of the panic budget, the budget is a direct success which is causing pain and panic to the remnants of the one opposition party or failed opposition party. Mr. Speaker, before I talk about, as Honorable Basarongo, Honorable Minister Folens described, the big chorus is about borrowing, about budget deficit, about Biman Prasad saying this in opposition. And let me tell them this. Everything I said in opposition, Mr. Speaker said, everything I said in the opposition, we are holding it. We are following that. We may not have achieved everything yet, but we will get there, Mr. Speaker. Let me just give some explanation or thinking behind the three budgets to set the scene, because there is a lot of generalization, misinformation, wrong statistics.
No facts.
And this is the first time, Mr. Speaker, say 8 years in opposition, when I compare, and the colleagues who were with us in the opposition, as I said earlier, that the level of contribution, the level of debate, the contradictions. On one hand, they're talking about huge borrowing deficit. Then on the other hand, say, no, you're not giving enough here. You should do this, you should do that. But let me just lay out the thinking behind the last two budgets, Mr. Speaker, and this budget. I'll give you the figures and you'll see where the lies are coming from. When we came into government at the end of 2022, Mr. Speaker, we inherited a debt of over 90% of GDP, which was on a path to a fiscal disaster. Our first priority was to fix the fiscal situation. We had to ensure that the government is well funded and we return to a path of fiscal sustainability. We undertook some immediate decisive tax reforms, increasing the VAT rate from 9 to 15%, but maintaining and increasing the number of zero-rated VAT items to 22. We increased corporate tax, closed some of the tax loopholes, strengthened tax compliance, and increased the departure tax. We also ensured that our vulnerable are protected by raising social welfare across the board by 15 and 25% for those over the age of 70 years. We are again increasing social welfare across the board by 3% in this budget. So if, in fact, Mr. Speaker, in 2.5 years, we would have increased the social welfare allowance by 18 to 28%. 18 to 28%. We ensured increased funding is provided to health, infrastructure, education, and other key sectors. We provided back-to-school support, increased the price of sugar and other agricultural produce. We wrote Tales debt of over 650 million to over 53,000 families and students, and replaced with a full scholarship scheme, with the largest number of students now getting merit-based scholarships. We focused on income measures, like raising minimum wage to $5 an hour. We increased the salaries of the civil servants in the last budget and then again in this budget, adding over $115 million into the pockets of civil servants. And again, within a year, as of 1st August 2024 and as of 1st August 2025, civil servants would have received a salary increase of between 10 to 23%. That's the highest, as Honorable Minister for Employment said, highest ever increase to the civil servants in the history of this country. In this budget, we have reduced the VAT rate to 12.5% and announced duty reductions and other measures to ease the cost of living measures. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, because people have understood what we did in the last two budgets, it took them a while because there was so much lying that went out from the opposition, and they're still continuing with that. We've received a hugely positive response. Let me talk about higher deficit and borrowings, which is the only thing that they had from the other side, Mr. Speaker. That is the only thing. They have alluded to this higher 6% deficit. As we have said this, and we said this even before the budget, that this is deliberate and necessary. Given the uncertain global economic environment, a higher deficit and expenditure has been adopted, simply to mitigate against this possible external shock. And both Honorable Usumate and Honorable Birendra Lal, they contradicted themselves. On one hand, they're saying, he was quoting IMF growth forecast, global economic slowdown, and on the other hand, saying, why are you having a high spending budget? Why are you having a higher deficit? That is precisely the point that I was making in the budget speech, Mr. Speaker. That our attempt in this budget is to make sure that our domestic readiness is there. Our domestic policies, if we get hit by a global economic slowdown, as predicted, as indicated by international organizations, we would be, I will come to that. You have no idea what you're talking about. This is a deliberate attempt to have a slightly higher deficit.
Order.
So that we can cushion any direct negative impact through these transmission mechanisms, and they talked about it. tourism slowing down, remittances slowing down. This boost in the budget and in key targeted sectors is going to help raise people's income, raise consumption, raise investment, and create an economic growth, a sustainable economic growth, jobs that will sustain us. That is the economic logic. They know that, Mr. Speaker. They know that. Whoever was writing Honorable Birendra Lal's speech, understood that. But he didn't understand what he was saying. So he was saying on one hand, this is deficit, borrowing, and then he was talking about the IMF global projection. The increase in expenditure revenue support is targeted towards, as I said, Mr. Speaker, to ease the cost of living that we have talked about. And the number of provisions that have been highlighted by the honorable ministers already. So despite the higher deficit, the debt to GDP ratio is still projected to be below 80%, 79.8% of GDP by July 2026. This is 10% points below the 90% of the debt to GDP ratio at the time when we came into government. And this higher deficit, Mr. Speaker, was only possible because we rebuilt our fiscal space in the last two budgets. They went to town with the rationalization of the budget. They were even saying why we increased the company tax from 20 to 25%. We rationalized the three rates of VAT, 0, 9 and 15, because there were a lot of leakage, a lot of compliance. People were being charged 15% and government was paid 9%. We rationalized that. And they were complaining about that. So we actually had deficits well below budgeted levels at an average of 3% in the last two budgets. Much lower than the three budgets before we came into government. So in 2023-2024 budget, Mr. Speaker, the deficit was contained at 3.4% compared to the budgeted 4.8%. And in the current year, it is revised to 3.6%, below the earlier projection of 4.5%. So even if we get the projected budgeted deficit of 6%, the average deficit in the last 3 years will still be 4.3%. That's what they should look at. That's what we did in the last two budgets. And that's what we are doing in this budget, Mr. Speaker. Even though we are taking more debt, we are bringing down the cost of debt as well. So our external debt is being accessed at extremely concessional terms like 40-year maturity, including 10-year grace period, low interest rate of below 1%. Even in the domestic market, our cost of borrowing has kept at record levels. Total weighted average borrowing cost is around 5%. So as of June 2025, Mr. Speaker, concessional external loans amount to approximately 1.4 billion, representing nearly 38% of the total external debt portfolio. So while the level of debt may rise in nominal terms, the cost of borrowing has dropped significantly, reducing long-term fiscal pressures and creating more space for productive investment. Any good economist, Mr. Speaker, will tell you this, that this is very prudent. We are extremely grateful to our development partners such as the IDB, World Bank, IDA, JICA and Government of Australia for providing such facilities to the Government of Fiji and who continue to demonstrate trust and confidence in Fiji's economic governance by extending such facilities. There was this big lie about debt in the last 3 years compared to what the previous government had. Debt increased under the coalition government versus previous government. Mr. Speaker said, Honorable Premla Kumar presented a very, very convoluted analysis of the debt increase under the coalition government. And they can't even get the figures correct. She claimed that debt would increase by 3 billion by the end of 2025-2026 financial year. Honorable Usumate said 2.6. The coalition government inherited a debt of 9.5 billion in December 2022. As of end of July 2025, debt is projected to increase to 10.8 billion. So that is an increase of 1.3 billion. With this year's projected deficit, debt is projected to increase to 11.7 billion at the end of July 2026. This is a total projected increase of 2.2 billion over 3 budgets. So, Honorable Kumar is saying 3 billion. It's just 2.2 billion. Honorable Usumate is saying 2.6 billion. They can't even, even a class 4 math student will say you can't round off 2.2 to 2.6 or 3 billion. It has to be 2 billion. So it's 2.2 billion, Mr. Speaker. However, under the previous government, debt increased from 2.8 billion in 2006 to 9.5 billion in 2022. And this is an increase of 6.7 billion during that term. This is the highest build-up, and it's not just COVID. It is not just COVID, it was building up by any government in the history of Fiji. And the previous government added over 2 times the amount of debt accumulated by all governments since Fiji's independence until 2026.
Still underinvested.
Let me talk about revenue. They made a big deal of revenue. Let me give them some statistics, real statistics. Yeah. And I would like to dispel this misinformation, Mr. Speaker, say from the opposition. Those kind of claims are not only unfounded, but actually ignore the government's proven record of fiscal transparency and credibility. Allow me to share the facts on the strong revenue performance under this government compared to our forecast, and thus reflecting the credibility, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, the credibility of our forecast. We've always been realistic. For 2023-2024 financial year, tax revenues reached 99.6% of tax revenue budget target. 99.6% of tax revenue budget target, with actual collections totaling 3.1 billion, against the forecasted of 3.11 billion, a marginal shortfall of only 10.8 million or a mere 0.4%, Honorable Usumate. For non-tax revenue, we collected 549 million compared to the projected 593.1 million, a gap of 43 million. Or 7.3%, still well within the reasonable margin. Therefore, we achieved 98.5% of our total revenue target, collecting 3.64 billion against a forecast of 3.7 billion, a major variance of just 1.5%. In the current financial year, 2024-2025, we are on track to exceed our budget revenue target. We now are expected to collect approximately 3.94 billion, 19.9 million or 0.5% higher than the original projection in terms of total revenue, tax plus non-tax. Tax collections are projected to be 100 million above the forecast. So at the end of June 2025, 94% of the target had already been collected.
Very good.
And we still have July, demonstrating both momentum and a clear indication of the credibility and the accuracy of the revenue projections and the effectiveness of our collection system.
Excellent.
This is a record, Mr. Speaker, that speaks for itself. We have been collecting revenue just on target or on target. Let me just give some contrast because it's important. Because a lot of the criticism was, oh, you are not going to collect the revenue that you are projecting. Let me just give some contrast. Under the previous administration, 2018-2019 budget, the revenue forecast was 4.2 billion in the budget, but only 3.2 billion was collected. a shortfall of 1.05 billion or a massive 25% under collection. Tax revenues under-delivered by 600 million, 17%, and non-tax revenues fall short of 460 million. There was no COVID in 2018-19, no COVID. For 2018 and 19 was not the only year the previous government fell short of achieving its, that was in 2016. Between 2014 to 2018 and 19, the previous government missed its revenue targets by an average of 14% per year, Mr. Speaker said, achieving only 86% of what was projected. This stands in stark contrast. So what we are saying is, this is, and all our development partners, our financiers, multilateral banks know that this is a government that has its projection, economic projection right. Yes. We are not inflating. Yeah. And this is the evidence. This is the data. I would like to reiterate that our revenue projections are not built on some kind of wishful thinking, but on realistic assessments, sound policy decisions, and robust economic foundation. So, for this budget, Mr. Speaker said, total government revenue is projected at 3.95 billion, comprising 3.37 billion in tax revenue and 573.2 million in non-tax revenue. This represents a modest increase of 10.8 million compared to the revised forecast of 2024-2025. So we've been very realistic. So while tax revenue is forecast to slightly decline by 46.7 million or 1.4% compared to the revised 2024-2025 estimates, this is a direct result of deliberate targeted policy decisions to ease the cost of living, particularly the reduction in VAT from 15 to 12.5%, effective from 1st of August 2025. Mr. Speaker said, had we retained the existing VAT and tax structure, the tax revenues would have been, or would have increased by an estimated 180 to 200 million, and this is solely due to economic growth. And this clearly demonstrates that the decline is not due to weak economic performance, but rather due to conscious pro-policy reforms. I would like to highlight that direct or income taxes are projected to increase by 72.8 million, led by higher corporate taxes. So, Mr. Speaker said, these are some of the statistics that completely dispels the exaggeration, the generalization, and the lies about our fiscal sustainability, our fiscal responsibility. Mr. Speaker said, and that is why we are saying that this budget, when you analyze our debt to GDP ratio, when you analyze our revenue forecast, our revenue collection, our record, our economic growth, this budget is fiscally responsible. It is fiscally responsible. The other, with respect to indirect taxes, particularly VAT, we have undertaken detailed economic modeling exercises to assess the likely impact of the rate reduction. And what we found, Mr. Speaker, given Fiji's high marginal propensity to consume, between 85 to 90%, and the Honourable Prime Minister talked about the amount of income that our Itoke community receives, and he gave a very good assessment, and I thought that was a very, very timely assessment. It shows the level of the high propensity to consume. So the anticipated increase in disposable income resulting from lower VAT, increase in civil service salaries, minimum wage, hikes from $4 to $5 will boost consumption and support revenue performance. Additionally, remittance inflows are projected to reach a record of 1.4 billion in 2025, further strengthening our household spending power. So while the tax revenue might dip slightly, this will be offset by an increase in non-tax revenues, which are again projected to rise. So in a nutshell, Mr. Speaker, the revenue is expected to increase by 10.8 million. And once again, this figure reflects prudent fiscal management and responsible policy decisions. And had we not implemented tax reductions, as I said earlier, total revenue would have increased by approximately 240 to 260 million. Mr. Speaker, I hope that this statistics will put to rest the flawed arguments and the generalizations that we heard from the opposition with respect to the deficit. The other big issue that they made out, Mr. Speaker, was about VAT increase in 2023 and 2024 budget. And all of them, for the last 2 years, parroted that narrative. And I know they've been doing that. Anything to do with increase in price is because government raised the VAT to 15%. Let me give you the history of VAT a little bit, so that Honorable Usumate talked about integrity. So he can look at himself in the mirror and tell the people of this country whether what he says is true or not, and also is of integrity or not. When we talk about VAT, it's important to talk about this history because it's economics. You can understand why we did what we did in the first budget. So the VAT rate in 2008, from 2008 to 2010, was 12.5%. Inflation, year-end inflation, was 6.6 in 2008, 6.8 in 2009, 3.6 in 2010. They forgot, Honorable Usumate joined the military government in February 2012. And again, I'm not sure whether that will put him into the group of people with integrity or those who believe in transparency and good governance. But he joined the military government. And at that time, the VAT rate from 2011 to 2015 was 15%, Mr. Speaker. No zero VAT on any basic food item. This was a period, and plus, Mr. Speaker, we had a devaluation of 20% in 2009. And he was there, sitting in the cabinet. When you have a devaluation, Mr. Speaker, our import cost goes up. The price of, and we had 6%, 6.8% inflation rate. And yet, the honorable member was sitting in that cabinet with a 15% VAT, with no social protection in the way that we have now. Very poor. Then, when we came into opposition, and my colleagues were there, we pushed for, because we knew the inflation rate was very high at that time. People were suffering. And we said VAT rate must come down, and that you must have zero. And it was the National Federation Party that provided the 21 list of items that need to be zero rated. And in 2016,
Microwave.
when 2022, when they did that, the microwave that, they didn't even check the order of the list. Order of the list was the same. So when they, and more, Mr. Speaker said, Honorable Leader of the Opposition should, in 2017, they had 9% VAT, but they brought what they call ECAL, 10%, and STT of 6%.
Sales turnover tax.
So, in effect, some people were paying 25% tax. And they're talking about how to support businesses, improve. That is what they had, Mr. Speaker.
What happened in 2019?
So, 2019, and this was a failed economic agenda. 2019, before 2018 election, they did all kinds of things. 2019, we had negative growth, Mr. Speaker. Government actually had run out of money. They were, as I said earlier, I showed what they were collecting in 2018 and 19. 1.2 billion shortfall in revenue. Government had cash flow problems. And we had a negative growth in 2009. So when COVID hit us in 2020, Mr. Speaker,
Save those.
we had the fourth largest contraction of all the economies in the world. This is an example of what we had. So, and the reason why I'm saying this, because they keep saying that I'm talking about the past. I sat in opposition for 8 years. And for 8 years, Mr. Speaker, I had from Ratumara government to SBT government to Lesenian Garase government, that this was the only government that ever did anything for this country. We were actually fed up hearing that. We are not as bad as, what I'm saying is I'm just reminding the honorable members on the other side, just be humble, just relax and just see what you people had when you were in government. So when you attack us, please have some understanding of what we had. So in 2022, when we came into government, as I said earlier, we decided to change that, have zero. We maintained zero. On 21, we added prescribed medicine, and we increased the VAT from 9 to 15%. But at the same time, we increased social welfare, we provided additional funding. And Mr. Speaker, let me say this to the honorable members. I think they have to be very honest when they go out to the people, that we inherited one of the most dilapidated state of health, education, infrastructure in this country. I was shocked, Mr. Speaker, when I saw Kandabu Hospital. I was shocked. You look at health centers around the country, from Tavyuni to Draketi to Vanikoro to Korovo to every health center. You look at the priority of the previous government. And we have been landed with that when people complain about CWM hospital today. I know Honorable Tikunduandua brought a picture of broken windows, toilets, and showed it in the screen here. And we are fixing that now, Mr. Speaker, and I laid down in the budget, we are doing that now. If you look at the inflation rate, they are saying, and Honorable Usmate was at least honest on that, the inflation rate in 2023 was 5.1%. Last year, end of the year, inflation rate was 1.4%. This year is projected to be about 1.1%. And that shows that our policies actually worked. And Honorable Albig Maharaj, this honorable member, Mr. Speaker, has got a habit of just shooting his Facebook post without any, you know what he said in his Facebook? He said, butter price went up. It is entirely on the shoulders of the government.
Nonsense.
Butter price went up
Whatever to do.
because the government did something. Let me just give this very good example. Of why the opposition must not.
Order.
Why the opposition must not lie, Honorable Speaker say. Because we must not mislead our people.
Yeah.
We must be honest. Integrity, as Usamate talks about, in politics, these are people who are affected by prices. And when you go out there and you lie to them, you lie through your social media post that somehow the government is increasing the price of butter because it wants to hate you. Is this what you say? Is that what a responsible member of parliament should do? No, Mr. Speaker.
Shameful.
No.
Shameful.
It's wrong to do that.
Yes.
And I'll tell you why. The benefit of this house, for the benefit of this house, the Fijian people, Fiji Dairy Limited is a small-scale processor that imports almost all its raw materials in the form of semi-finished butter. And we know the story of Rewa Dairy. I don't want to get into that. They simply add salt, so they get these slabs. Add salt, package it, and sell as Rewa butter. And we know that if the price of these slabs of butter goes up in New Zealand, the freight cost, even if it remains the same, like any other stuff that we import, Mr. Speaker say, even if you have zero VAT, zero duty, the price goes up. That's not very hard for our honorable colleagues on the other side to understand.
Simple.
It's simple. We need to understand this, Mr. Speaker. And if I just explain this chart, and I can table it in Parliament for them to. I'm coming to you. Yeah. You look at the price of butter from 2011 to 2025. Some of the biggest increase, 21.93%, 500 gram butter went from $7.34 to $8.95, 21% increase in 2011. Mr. Speaker. And you go right up to, so 15% VAT, $15.93 for 500 gram butter, 14.2% increase from the previous increase. This will come down to $15.58 on the 1st of August because the bet rate is going down. So, Honorable Maharaj, butter price going up and down is not caused by government.
I didn't say it was caused by government.
Tomorrow you will say, subsidize ghee. Tomorrow you will say, subsidize chicken. Tomorrow you will go and say, subsidize that. You know, you're a businessman. You import medicine. You can't lie to the people through being an honorable member of parliament. You're an honorable assistant minister. Mr. Speaker, say, I plead with the honorable opposition members not to go and lie. 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 Let me, Mr. Speaker, say, refer to the points made by Honorable Bala about, Mr. Speaker, say, this honorable member had 2 weeks to go through the budget and all he could come up with was a lollipop. All he could do in 2 weeks' time is to come back with a lollipop to speak against the budget. And I know some of them have suddenly got a taste of lollipop and candy. This is how they describe the budget. Is that reflective of a honorable member of parliament who has the interest of people? He talked about guaranteeing sugar price. He knows very well that during that time, only time they paid $85 was for the 2017 season. In 2018, because the cane payment is made a year after, so the 2017 cane payment, in 2018 they paid $85 because the election was, they knew that they were going to lose that election, so they gave $85. But after that, they shortchanged the farmers by about $14 million. $14 million. That's what they did. And it is this government that gave $91 and $105. Again, all the honorable member is trying to do, I know what he does when he goes around and, says, you're not gonna, where's the money? Where's the budget? He's already telling the farmers, there will be no guaranteed price. And that's what he comes and tells in Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
That's the people are saying.
No, you must, as a honorable member, Mr. Speaker, say, part of our responsibility is to also tell the truth to our people.
Yes.
People will complain. People will complain. They used to do that when we were in opposition. They still complain to us. They complain about other ministries. Our job is to correct them, Mr. Speaker, say. Honorable Dinesh Sharma. I mean, his little jibes about me at a personal level, whether I'm a good professor or a good politician. I know, Mr. Speaker, politics, academia, the transition one makes, it's important. Good politics does not necessarily mean good economics, good policy. But having been in politics for 10 years now, Mr. Speaker, and having been in academia for many years, I've come to the conclusion that good policy can also be good politics. And I think that is what is panicking the opposition. Because not only this budget has good policy, it has turned out to be good politics because people are very happy about this budget. The social welfare recipients are happy. The workers are happy. The principals are happy. The head teachers are happy. The businessmen are happy. The investors are happy. The banks are happy. The mother with 3 children going to school in Namosi is very happy. People going to health centers, they are happy. So, but the policy that we put in this budget, higher deficit, bigger spending, is good policy, which turns out to be good politics for the government, but bad politics for the opposition. And that's what is causing the panic, Mr. Speaker. That's what is causing the panic. Mr. Speaker, I'm just wanting to make sure that I correct some of the misinformation that was provided. Honorable Dinesh Sharma talked about 40,000 people leaving. I don't know where he gets those figures, Mr. Speaker. I don't know. Maybe ChatGTP, but I think ChatGTP is smarter than some people think it is, But if you look at the migration, and this is something that I had corrected honorable members in this parliament, let's not mislead our people. I'll give you some statistics. In 2010, 19,000 people left for migration, employment, and education. 2011, 24,000. Jumped to 2016, 26,000. 2017, 27,000. 2018, 26,000. 2019, 28,000. Then COVID, 2 years, we had 8 and 5. Again, that jumped to 28,000 in 2022. There was a massive labor market restructuring around the world post-COVID. Australia and New Zealand needed. Australia provided 40 hours of work visa. Students, are civil servants. People who had good jobs resigned to go and study because they could work for 40 hours. 2023, it went up to 29,000. And 2024, it actually went down to 22,433. This is the migration statistics, Mr. Speaker said. And what he said was, oh, people are leaving because they don't like the government.
Oh gosh.
They're leaving. Is that a responsible statement from an honorable member of parliament who fancies himself to be a representative of the people, fancies himself to a future minister? Is that the kind of information that you want to tell the people? No, Mr. Speaker. No, we shouldn't. In fact, Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, sir, point of order 62(4)(a). It is out of order for a member when use offensive words against a member, against Parliament or another member. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'd like to, if you allow me, Mr. Speaker, sir. 64(a).
One moment, I'm 62
4(a).
4A. Right, carry on.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, before my speech, it was on the second day of the budget, I referred to an article by a media, 14/7/2025, and it stated that between 2022 to 2024, over 40,000 Fijians leaving our shores, and it puts a pressure on Fiji's workforce. I have referred to a media article. I didn't stir this up from ChatGPT or from thin air, and stop undermining my speeches as if it's not backed up by facts. And Mr. Speaker, sir, the Minister of Finance should apologize.
Honorable Sharma, I had, I think, previously made known that when you do get, I think it was in respect of Honorable Chone Usmati's point of order, when you do make reference or quote from another source, especially in social media, you ascertain the veracity of that information before you table it or speak of it or quote it on the floor of this House, right? So it's on the same vein, I am saying that if in fact it is proven not true and you have quoted from your source, from a social media, then there is no validity in your objection to him saying that, because he knows it is wrong. That's why he's referring to your source, right? And in any case, I will come back to, I'm sorry, it refers also to another point of order which is coming on Friday, which was raised earlier in respect of your other matters that you brought in from social media, right? We carry on, Speaker. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I have been saying, and thank you for making that clarification, that it is the responsibility of honorable members when they come into this August House to check their facts. Because when you say that, in this day and age, Mr. Speaker said, as soon as you say something in this parliament, it goes out into the social media and people can have all kinds of opinion and views about it. And that's why it's important for us to choose our facts, our words very carefully. Just to support that argument about what, and the figures show that the number of people leaving has actually slowed down, because There's also a realization that it's not milk and honey on the other side. When you look at the cost of living, when you look at the tax rate, when you look at the social support, when you look at the medical, costs, people are beginning to understand that. And we are also seeing a much better trend in the last 2 years. We've increased formal sector employment by about 5,000 jobs. Average wage increase of over 12% in the same period. So that, Mr. Speaker, says is helping not only the income potential of our people, but it's also giving a signal. And when they compare the cost of living overseas, in Australia and New Zealand in particular, they actually find that Fiji, the savings rate, the tax rate, plus, Mr. Speaker, say we have not raised the income or reduced the income threshold. Everyone who earns below 30,000 and those who earn above 30,000 also benefit that tax-free status for up to $30,000. Honorable Koya, Mr. Speaker, raised this issue about SMEs. We've increased the budget for SMEs from 120 to 160 million. And as a government, we took that decision very carefully, right early in our tenure, and Honorable Minister for Lands mentioned the budget increase for the Ministry of Agriculture. And as I said in my budget speech about the late Honorable Minister for Agriculture, Minister Bhatimi Dayalu, he was a go-getter. He achieved so many things in 2.5 years. And in fact, the agriculture sector, in many ways, is booming now. In Banwa Levu as a whole, Mr. Speaker, is booming. And part of the reason why agriculture is picking up, and Honorable DPM Kamkamida highlighted some of the commercial agriculture projects, investments that are already in the pipeline. Some have started, some will start in the future, and that's the way to go. So we are actually looking at how we can diversify these, and basically the structure of the economy is also changing. So we are working on that, Mr. Speaker. The issue about the 3% salary rise, 5% social welfare. Many of the honourable members completely ignored that the salary rise that we gave last budget, within a year, as I said, we have given about between 10 to 23% salary rise to civil servants. Same with social welfare. In 2 years, we've increased social welfare by about 18 to 28%. Honorable Rinesh Sharma also talked about, he raised questions about the back-to-school support. And again, Mr. Speaker, there is a tendency for some of the members on the other side to bring to Parliament issues that people raise. I know when you put out a policy, for example, you say, we're going to increase the allowance. There will always be people who will say this is not enough. For some, that would be correct. It may not be enough. There will always be issues about scholarship, about bonds, about hardships. But to come here in this house and say and imply that the back-to-school support is not working is again a very, very twisted logic and generalization. The back-to-school support, the original policy, we didn't do that. We were not thinking about elections. Some of them, Mr. Speaker, said this budget is an election budget. When we came into government, The Honorable Prime Minister, before the school opened, in January, after we got in government on the 24th of December, announced this back to school support because he realized that people were still transitioning from COVID, lack of jobs, income, and they needed support for back to school support. And you go and talk to the people out there. If 5% of the people misuse that, Mr. Speaker, why do you want to penalize 95% of them? Go and talk to the mothers, go and talk to the parents around the country. They are so pleased with this particular policy of this coalition government, Mr. Speaker, I say, because you see the glee on the faces of children with new bags, with new uniform, with new sandals, going to the school on the first day. That is an incentive. And I've seen children doing that. Again, they lie, Mr. Speaker. They say this is a Fiji-based policy. There was never a back-to-school support. There was a COVID measure. There was a COVID measure in 2020 and 21. But it was not back-to-school support. This is a signature policy of the coalition government which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister. And more than 200,000 students every year, Mr. Speaker, get $200 each, and more than 200,000 students will get that in January 2026 when they go to school. Honorable Virendra Lal, he was Honorable Minister for Health, has worked very hard. He went to India. India is the world's pharmacy now, Mr. Speaker, say. 40% of drug that goes to the US, for example, goes from India. Australia and New Zealand. Here is an honorable member. He goes to Indian High Commission function and says how great India is, but then comes here and questions, the pharmacopoeia agreement that we took pains to actually get it signed with the Indian government. And we want to make sure that we sign another agreement to get medicine, government to government agreement to get medicine from India. We are on the verge of signing the MOU with the Indian government for the construction of the 100-bed super specialty hospital, and that's going to be done. I know he also took some personal jibe at me and said, people are not going to vote for you next time in the election. I mean, this is coming from a man who, despite holding the coattail of his revered leader, failed to make it to Parliament twice in 2018 and 2022. He is only here because two members, Honorable Vijendra Prakash at that time and Honorable Rosie Akbar, resigned from Parliament. I want to tell him, Mr. because that was a very insulting comment. I didn't come into politics to look after myself. I left more than what I'm getting now as a minister in terms of salary 10 years ago, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, point of order from Sir Virendra Lal.
60, sir.
60.
Sir, I came into Parliament and followed the parliamentary process to be in Parliament. And what Mr. Prasad is saying is, I followed the parliamentary process to be here, sir.
60. What is particular subsection of 60 you're referring to?
Relevance, sir.
Relevance is
Yes, sir.
60. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
Responding to your comment.
Sir, this is something personal which is raising.
Well, that's different. If you're saying that something is personal, you go to another section. Right? Sorry. Where would...
Sir, I simply want to make it clear
Yes.
that I am in Parliament and the parliamentary process has been reliably followed. And that's why I'm here in Parliament.
Yes, I think we can take that, Honorable Professor Prasad, that in fact he is here of his own right, put it that way.
Mr.
Right?
Speaker, I said exactly that, what you were saying. All I said was, he was saying, his comment was that he will not get the votes this time when he goes into election. He was referring to me. And all I said was, I fought 3 elections and I won straight into parliament. He fought 2 elections, did not make it to parliament in the first round until someone else vacated the seat. That's why I said. I didn't question his...
I take his point, though, Professor. He's made the point that he is in Parliament, right? That I think we leave it at that. Thank you. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And let me also say again, repeat that I didn't come into Parliament to look after myself. I left a job that was paying me more than what I'm getting now 10 years ago. So I was really not, I thought that was below the belt. So, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude. Let me conclude. This is a budget that has been crafted very carefully. The analysis we've done in terms of where we are as a country, I've taken some of the points raised by the honourable members of the opposition. I want to assure them, I want to assure our people that we are focused on building our infrastructure, our roads, our water supply, our health, our education. And just on education, this criticism of us giving funding to school principals, Polytech, Head Teachers Association, School Management Association. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the partnership that existed between the management, the teachers, the parents was completely broken. And many of the dilapidation that we see around the country with respect to school physical infrastructure, you look at school quarters in the rural areas, in maritime areas, even the civil servants, I was shocked at the condition in which some of our civil servants were operating in Kandavu. I was really, really shocked, Mr. Speaker. And for the schools, it's even worse. Because in the past, school management used to raise funds. The animal bazaars were something that we always looked forward to. And many of the infrastructure improvements like wash facilities, staff quarters, etc., were looked after by the management. 98% of the schools in this country are privately owned by religious organizations, community groups. And what we've done in this budget is to provide funding to the School Management Association to ensure that they strengthen their capacity, their management, and as the Honourable Minister for Education said very clearly, the allocation of the grant to any of these bodies or institutions, whether they are technical institutes, whether they are universities, is not something that is there for them to take it tomorrow. There are proper policies, procedures, requirements, audit reports, the Higher Education Commission for Higher Education Institutions. These are processes that the Ministry of Education would follow. But what it is going to do, Mr. Speaker, is bring all these people together and allow school managements to take the responsibility to ensure that they are able to improve the infrastructure, build additional classrooms. And as I said earlier in this Parliament, we got the Australian government, Mr. Speaker, to do an audit of schools in Suba. And the report was launched by the Honourable Prime Minister, and it shows how bad the staff-student ratio is, the quality of teaching. Class 7 children in primary schools, 20% of class 7 students, I'm told, at least in one school, and if you extrapolate that to say, that might be the case in every other school where the ratio is the same, it's quite worrying that 20% of the students in class 7 can't read. And that is why we feel, Mr. Speaker, say that we need to build more classrooms, we need to build more facilities, we need to ensure that staff-student ratio is better. So, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, let me say this to our people, that as the Honourable Prime Minister said when we came into government, and as I said earlier, under his leadership, we have changed a lot of things in this country. There is freedom, there is stability, there is an opportunity for us to build this country further in terms of our infrastructure, in terms of our facilities, in terms of our economy, in terms of looking after our people. And that vision that we have enunciated very, very clearly in our National Development Plan, Vision 2050, of making this country a high-income country, Mr. Speaker, is achievable. It's there. It can be done. And we are not saying that we will be in government all our life. That vision that we've set in the 2050 plan is a plan for Fiji. It's a plan for our country, regardless of who is in government, who is in opposition. And with that in mind, Mr. Speaker, this budget and future budgets will be framed. And that is the vision that the coalition government has. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the Honourable Prime Minister for his leadership, for his trust and confidence in me as Minister of Finance, my two Deputy Prime Minister colleagues, all my Cabinet Ministers, Assistant Ministers, Honourable Members of Parliament on the government side. And also, I want to thank all the Honourable Opposition members for their contribution. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity very quickly to thank my Permanent Secretary. He's not only a very fine and intelligent economist, but he's a very fine and great leader for the Ministry of Finance. And I want to take this opportunity to thank him sincerely. I want to thank my head of Budget Division, Nimia Dawai. I want to thank all the team in the Budget Division, Litilia Tuyalani, Maria Dakonitambua, Kiman Mala, Tavita Tuimbao, Claire Arvono, Melissa Kwan, Videlu Vitu Kawalu, Miriama Ketenromo, Sandeep Kumar, Namrata Singh, Tari Bibea, Pranita Raj, Emma Rokuwanga, Vinil Kumar, Josepha Takalaivuna, Rashika Ram, Joanna Marama, Seniana Tomani, Shail Nath, Maria Kuroi, Saini Vodolala, Merewalesi Drio, Anistel Sami, Makrao Faktafoun, Avnil Chand, Vasenai Vatiraveli, Jotame Yambaki Vitu, Jyoti Devi, Andre Kolikata. Fiscal Policy Division, Munesh Dev, who is the head of Fiscal Division, Sundhya Ben, Eleanor Beauty, Asenada Lewarabu, Ansar Ali, Vinay Singh, Koral Gavindi, Shalen Kumar, Devika Sen, Al Zaid Gul, Priyana Singh, Sylvia Kumar, Uli Lakemba Nesua, Astosh Sharma, Prisha Vilimoria, Alvis Kumar, Salaivalu Bola. Treasury Division, Atin Chand, Head, Cecilia Nalainde, David Wilco, Hasinada Mai. Other divisions, Muhammad Javid, Poonam Singh, Ajbika Prakash, Jesse Nambalarua, and Nimish Dev. FRCS, CEO Udit Singh, Shavindra Nath, Shalina Kumar, Momina Beg, Parinesese Gavindi, Talai Kotonimbao, Kreliani Dawai, Sharmila Sharma, Rahul Gaundar, Anasa Mata Kede, Christian Saxena, Vinita Prasad. Also take this opportunity to thank the Attorney General's Office, in particular the Solicitor General, Rupati Green, Maria Kubona, Glenis Andrews, Ipeli Sau, Janice Manueli, and Joanna Gida. With those names, Mr. Speaker, I thank you and I commend the budget to the honourable members and to the people of Fiji. Thank you.